Hi, so I'm going to just recap on how to clone any pair of underwear, any size, and to make a pattern so that you can then make another pair of underwear from an upcycled t-shirt or another stretchy fabric that you might have on hand. So here shown is a ladies large hipster, which is folded in half exactly. And this is then placed inside a plastic bag so that you can capture the leg of the front and the back. So you carefully place, I put a piece of paper in here just so you can see it for illustrative purposes. So inside a folded plastic bag on the crease, because you want to go for symmetry, you're going to put this inside there. So I'll just put mine in there for re-demonstration purposes. And then I have carefully traced the front leg and the back. And I drew the shape of the top, the hip. Now, an added trick, because we're going to design this so you don't actually need to attach elastic, I have added additional plastic bag, approximately the size of my hip width, on top. And what that is going to do when we make our symmetrical pattern is it's going to provide the extra mirrored fabric that we need that's going to add the extra stretch. Once I have the trace on my plastic bag, I can then go and to pattern paper, and then I can trace. You can fold the pattern paper in half to get a perfect symmetry. So then I put it here on this side to trace my back piece, and that forms the back half of my underwear. And then I take another folded pattern and I can trace just the front. And so then I'm going to trace it out and cut it, and it forms my front of my underwear. So I have my back and I have my front. Now the added extra piece is called the gusset, and you can use any type of stretchy fabric for the body of the underwear, but you're going to want to have something soft and absorbent right next to your private parts. And so a t-shirt cutout would be fine, and that's what I've used in this practical example that I'm going to show you. So to create that pattern piece, you're basically just tracing this part of the front of the pair of underwear. And so I went ahead and I made the trace. It's just here as a sample. But now you're going to see this. How do I put together this pair of underwear now that I have the back, the front, and the gusset piece? So here is my three shapes. Now, what we need to do is first lay out the front. Okay, so this was all cut out and traced from my pattern. So I'm going to have that with the face up. Next, I'm going to lay the back side to match that gusset part. Okay, so the narrow end of both near the bottom seam is right here. So the front of the pair of underwear, the back of the underwear, the facing fabric are together, And then I'm also placing that gusset piece, so I'm making a 3-layer sandwich. Now I took advantage of my t-shirt hem, and so it's already hemmed here, so I have a nice finish. Or you could use any hemming if you want, and it's not even necessary, but just I took advantage of that bottom hem of the t-shirt. So the next process that I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch right along the bottom, and a little hack point is you want the inside, the back, to be just a little bit on the inside of the front and the gusset part. And if you have to trim your pattern just to give that little edge, you'll see why. I can't, unfortunately, tape and sew, so I'll stop this and show you the next part. All right, so I have made a single stitch right here, and it has all 3 layers. It has my gusset, it has my back side facing my front of my underwear. The next step is we need to seam this gusset to the front leg. So, and we have to do that by getting this back fabric out of the way. So that's why we want that little bit of extra fabric on the front and the gusset part, because we're going to match those face to face and stitch all here. And then we're going to go to the other side, get this back part out of the way, and just stitch face of the gusset to the face of the front. So now my gusset is stitched to the front of the front of the underwear, and here's the back fabric here, and here's the view from it on this side. Literally, we have just taken the edges and stitched it, so our gusset's going to have a nice finished look on the inside of our underwear. Let's go ahead and see what that looks like. Voila. I have a great looking gusset that will feel nice and comfy. And by doing that 3-layer sandwich, I basically have a finished look on both the front and the back, or the seaming of that. And so it's nice and put together. And on this particular style of underwear, I'm keeping them seamless. I am not actually going to do any edging, no elastic here. The fabric is stretchy enough on its own, and this is not going to unravel. It's just going to be really comfy against my, while wearing it. And in here, this just rolls like that. And you can adjust your pattern. Again, literally, we've cloned this from a comfy pair of underwear. You can take any pair of underwear. The next stage, we're going to seam our front and back side seams together. So you'll see that I have this V, and all I have to do is, again, face to face. This pattern is so simple that we just have to match the face to face. So I'm going to measure it from the top edge of like where the waist is, and make sure that my V is together. So I'm going to just do a 1/4 inch seam, just seaming along here, stopping here to make sure I have a nice angle, and then I'm going to go on and finish it there. I'm going to go ahead and do that on both sides. These underwear are really starting to take shape. So now I have my side seam stitched on both sides and keeping respect of that V, because that's going to help us. Now we're going to fold this right on the edge. So we're going to make this seam go flat, and I can't do that while I'm holding the camera, but I'm going to just open that up and I'm going to fold it right there. And then I'm going to sew on both sides. So I folded it and I'm prepping my seams because I'm going to do a top stitch that is going to secure these side seams flat. So at that V, I've folded it distinctly, keeping it flat. And my needle is going to go right here and I'm going to stitch down, around, and back up to give this a really nice finished flat edge. So here's the result of me sewing that flat seam on both sides. It looks finished. And then it just is free here. And what that does is by me securing both sides, I don't have to sew the waist at all. That this pair of underwear is ready to go. It is super stretchy. It's super soft. And it feels great on. You're all done. And you have a beautiful finished gusset right here on your tender parts. And you can use any t-shirt. You can use any stretchy fabric to make as many pairs of underwear as you want, in whatever size you want, in whatever style you want. This is just the basics from a pair of underwear that existed to a plastic bag to make a pattern, since you don't have a pattern, to a new pair of underwear. And spoiler alert, I am very much of a beginner sewer. I don't sew that much. So if I can do this, anybody can do it. And if you don't have a sewing machine, you could literally hand stitch. The same process is you could hand stitch this with a needle and thread, and you are good to go.